A young Black woman starts her first day at a powerful corporation. Excited and hopeful, she walks in ready to prove herself. But instead of support, her boss greets her with rudeness, insults, and endless humiliation. What he doesn't know is that she isn't just another new employee. She's the daughter of the company's CEO, the very person who controls his future. And soon, his arrogance will come back to haunt him in the most shocking way. This isn't just about work. It's about respect, hidden strength, and a twist no one saw coming. What would you do if your boss disrespected you on your very first day? Would you stay quiet, or would you stand up for yourself? Have you ever been judged unfairly at work? Share your story in the comments, because the way we treat others always reveals more about us than about them. For more inspiring stories where respect wins over arrogance, don't forget to subscribe to The Rise Against Odds. Tap the bell icon so you never miss the next powerful lesson in disguise. It was her very first day at Bright Future Corporation, one of the most respected companies in the city. Maya Carter arrived early, dressed neatly in a navy blazer and polished shoes. Her heart raced with excitement. She had always dreamed of working here, not because of the company's reputation, but because she wanted to prove her own worth. What no one in the office knew was that she was the CEO's daughter. Her father, a man of integrity, insisted she start at the bottom, learn the ropes, and earn respect without shortcuts. Maya agreed. She wanted to build her career with her own effort, not her father's title. But within minutes of stepping into her new department, things went terribly wrong. Her assigned supervisor, Mr. Clark, barely looked at her before snapping, "You're late." Maya blinked in surprise. She had arrived 15 minutes early. "Sir, she began, but he cut her off. "Save the excuses. Around here, you work twice as hard if you want to keep your job." His voice was sharp, his eyes cold. Other employees turned their heads away, too afraid to intervene. Maya swallowed her pride, reminding herself that humility was part of the journey. She nodded silently and went to her desk. But Mr. Clark wasn't finished. Throughout the day, he piled on menial tasks, criticized her work harshly, and even mocked her in front of others. "Maybe this job is too much for you," he sneered. Maya clenched her jaw, but remained calm. Little did he know, the person he was humiliating was the very daughter of the man who signed his paychecks. And soon, his arrogance would be exposed. By lunchtime, Maya had already endured more than she expected. Mr. Clark had assigned her endless photocopying, forced her to fetch his coffee twice, and loudly corrected her over the smallest mistakes. Every time she tried to ask a question, he snapped back with sarcasm. "Didn't they teach you anything in school?" He scoffed, shaking his head as though she were a burden. Some colleagues exchanged sympathetic glances, but no one dared to step in. Mr. Clark had a reputation for being harsh, and most employees kept their heads down to avoid his wrath. Maya, however, stayed calm. She remembered her father's advice. Respect isn't demanded, it's revealed when tested. Prove your worth with patience, but never let anyone strip away your dignity. Still, Mr. Clark's behavior hurt. It wasn't just his words. It was the way he looked at her, as if she was beneath him. Later that afternoon, he gave her an impossible deadline. "I want this 30-page report summarized and on my desk in 1 hour. Don't mess it up." His tone was mocking, as if he expected her to fail. Maya nodded, took the papers, and worked with quiet focus. She didn't panic. Instead, she organized the material quickly and presented a clear, professional summary before the hour was up. Clark flipped through the pages, searching for errors. To his surprise, the report was flawless. Instead of admitting her skill, he scoffed again. "Beginner's luck," he muttered dismissively. Maya's lips pressed into a thin smile. She knew, then, that this wasn't about her performance. It was about his ego. And while she chose patience, destiny was already preparing the perfect moment to humble Mr. Clark in front of everyone. The next morning, Maya walked into the office with the same quiet determination. She greeted everyone politely, but Mr. Clark barely acknowledged her. Instead, he found new ways to belittle her. He assigned her tasks far beneath her role, cleaning up the break room, organizing old files, and even carrying heavy boxes while he barked instructions from his desk. At one point, Maya overheard him whispering to another manager, "These new hires think they're so smart. This one won't last a week." His words stung, but she kept her composure. What he didn't know was that her father, the CEO, had purposely placed her in this department to observe how employees were treated. By mid-afternoon, an important meeting was scheduled with senior executives. Mr. Clark strutted around, rehearsing his talking points, bragging to the staff about how crucial he was to the company. "When the CEO arrives," he said smugly, "everyone better be on their best behavior. This is the kind of meeting that decides careers." He glanced at Maya with a sneer. "Some of us might even be out the door if we don't shape up." Maya nodded politely, hiding her thoughts. Little did Clark know, she wouldn't just be attending that meeting. She would be sitting beside the CEO himself. As the meeting time approached, Maya quietly gathered her notes. She had prepared detailed research overnight, anticipating the topics of discussion. Meanwhile, Clark laughed at her for trying too hard. He didn't realize that the very work she prepared would soon catch the CEO's eye and expose his own arrogance in the harshest spotlight possible. The conference room buzzed with anticipation as executives filed in. Mr. Clark straightened his tie, his usual arrogance swelling even more in front of the senior staff. Maya quietly entered and took a seat near the back, carrying her notes. Clark gave her a sharp glare. "Assistants sit outside," he whispered harshly. But before Maya could respond, the doors opened, and the CEO himself, Robert Carter, walked in. The room instantly stood in respect. Clark's smug smile widened. He leaned back in his chair, eager to impress. What he didn't notice was the CEO's warm smile directed straight at Maya. "Good morning, everyone," Mr. Carter said. His voice commanded the room. "Before we begin, I'd like to introduce someone special joining us today, my daughter, Maya Carter." Gasps rippled through the room. Heads turned toward Maya, who rose gracefully from her chair. Clark's face drained of color. His mouth opened, but no words came. The same young woman he had mocked, insulted, and humiliated was the CEO's daughter, the very person whose presence could shape his future. Maya's expression remained calm. She nodded politely as her father continued. "Maya is starting at the entry level to learn how this company truly operates. She's here to observe, contribute, and experience the business from the ground up." The executives applauded warmly, some smiling with newfound respect. Clark sank in his seat, sweating profusely. He avoided Maya's eyes, but she felt his fear. For the first time, the power dynamic had shifted completely. Her father began the meeting, inviting Maya to share her research. With quiet confidence, she presented clear, insightful points that impressed the entire board. Every word she spoke drove Clark deeper into shame. His arrogance had finally caught up with him. When Maya finished her presentation, the room erupted in applause. Even the most senior executives nodded in approval, clearly impressed by her insight and composure. Her father beamed with pride, but quickly shifted the attention back to business. "This," he said firmly, "is why Bright Future must value every voice in the company, whether it belongs to a senior manager or a new hire." Clark sat frozen, his earlier arrogance replaced with dread. He avoided everyone's gaze, but Maya noticed his trembling hands. For once, he had nothing to say. The man who had mocked her intelligence was now exposed as small-minded in front of the very people he had hoped to impress. After the meeting, the CEO addressed the room one last time. Leadership, he said, is not measured by how loudly you command, but by how respectfully you treat those you lead. His eyes swept across the executives, then briefly rested on Clark, who lowered his head in shame. As the group dispersed, Clark hesitated, then approached Maya. His voice was low, strained. "Maya, I didn't know." She looked at him evenly, her tone calm but firm. "That's the problem, Mr. Clark. You never tried to know. Respect should never depend on titles, connections, or appearances. Everyone deserves dignity." Her words hung heavy in the air. For Clark, it was a lesson he would never forget. For the others, it was a reminder that arrogance and prejudice have no place in true leadership. Maya left the room not as a victim, but as a symbol of quiet strength. She hadn't needed her father's power to expose Clark. His own behavior had done that. And in the end, respect, not authority, proved to be the real measure of success.